Hey guys, it's Stacey Herrera of StaceyHerrera.com. If this is your first time joining me live, I am a body, love, and pleasure strategist. I help women to enjoy their bodies, create conscious relationships, and live delicious, wholehearted lives. Today, I wanted to talk about the disembodied woman and the numbness and the disconnection and what that looks like. So in the work that I do, I talk a lot with a lot of women about how they experience their bodies and what happens when they feel certain things or when they don't feel certain things. And one of the things that comes up very, very often is nothing. A lot of women, a lot of women say that they don't feel anything at all, which is sad and disheartening. The thing is that so often when we don't want to feel pain, and the pain doesn't necessarily have to be physical pain. Sometimes it's emotional pain. It's some trauma or something from the past. Typically, when we don't want to feel that, we cut ourselves out. We cut ourselves off, and we start to numb out. So a lot of women literally don't have a lot of sensation, sometimes from the neck down when it's really bad, and sometimes from the waist down. And when I say they feel nothing, it's not that if you like pinch them, they don't feel anything. But I mean, they have a hard time experiencing pleasure and pain because they are numbed out and disconnected. It happens a lot with trauma, and trauma can manifest in a lot of different ways. It doesn't always necessarily show up as like a mental experience. A lot of times it will show up as sickness or disease in the body when we don't work through the emotions. I also see this a lot with women who have had sexual trauma, particularly, or anything. It doesn't even, and when I say sexual trauma, that doesn't necessarily mean that she was raped or sexually victimized. Sometimes it could be related to childbirth, giving birth to her own child. I've seen it with women who've suffered the loss of a child, so a miscarriage or stillbirth, those kinds of things. I've also seen it with women who have had children born with birth defects or mental health issues and those kinds of things, that sometimes the women internalize that experience and make it their fault, even if it's not something that they consciously do. And as a result, they disconnect from that part of themselves. This is the challenge, though, with disconnection and being a disembodied woman is, again, you don't just cut yourself off from experiencing pain. You also cut yourself off from experiencing pleasure, because pain and pleasure are really on the same continuum. So it's very difficult to say, like, I don't want to hurt without unconsciously declaring, I also don't want to feel good. Because a lot of women, when they have cut themselves off, and again, most of the time, it isn't a declaration that they make consciously in their mind. So a lot of times it's just an unconscious decision where you just kind of blame yourself or blame your body for a particular experience. And so then you cut off the sensation unconsciously. It's very, very common, much more common than you think. And once you do that, though, like, you really do also sever the connection with experiencing pleasure. So women who are disembodied often have a hard time having a good time. They have a hard time laughing with their friends. They have a hard time getting close to people. They often have a hard time like sharing their truth or expressing their needs, their desires. They just have a hard time with intimacy in general, because there's this line that says it's not safe. It's not safe for me to feel. It's not safe for me to get too close. It's not safe for me to love, because that could mean hurting. So this is the thing, though, why it's important to experience pain and discomfort. because again, it's on the same continuum with pleasure. But this quote from Harriet Lerner, which I think is so poignant, and it really is so so on point with what I'm talking about, is the person in pain has the power to change. If you haven't read any of Harriet Lerner books, I recommend them. She's so brilliant. And she speaks so well about emotion and that kind of thing. But when we can sit with our feelings, we're able to feel them without compartmentalizing them. So even when you're sitting in discomfort, which is not easy, even when you're sitting in discomfort, you can sit in it and it moves much quicker. I was just commenting to a friend on my personal page a few moments ago, and she was having some discomfort, and I was saying that, if you can just sit in it, even if it doesn't feel good, it moves so much faster. We're able to transition out of the discomfort so much quicker, because when we are disconnected from it and we try to resist the pain, it just makes it last longer, because what we resist actually persists. So how do you become re-embodied? if I don't even know if that's a word, but how do you get back into your body when you have disconnected from it? Slowly, it's a process, and it's a conscious process, like making conscious decisions to actually be present. It means, again, I know I said this on another video, and I'll probably say it up a zillion other times because it's so important, but following your breath. Your breath is like the gateway to your body. Like, think about it, like that's how you come into this present state of being, if you can follow your breath. You can do little things like being very intentional with a meal, like having a distraction-free meal and like sitting with the meal and enjoying the food, like with no electronic devices and that kind of thing. But if you could just sit with the meal, experience the textures, play with the flavors, like feel how everything feels in your tongue, like not rushing through it, but actually taking your time to taste and feel and experience the meal. Also, like really being intentionally present when you are giving a hug or receiving a hug, but like actually allowing yourself to sit in it for a few seconds longer, like on purpose, like feeling the weight of the other person's arms around you, feeling the beat of the other person's heart against your chest. Like that is a really great way to create intimacy with another person, but it's also a great way for you to experience your body. And if you have experienced sexual trauma, then getting help is really important. Sometimes it can be very difficult, and sometimes you've actually gone through therapy to work through the mental part of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have re-engaged and returned home to your body. So working with someone to help you to be present and to give you activities and things to do to help you to embody your body, and moving through any of the layers of emotion that you haven't yet gone through, because sometimes we peel back just the top few layers, just enough for us to comfortably move through the world, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've gone deep enough to really be able to unearth and forgive whatever needs to be forgiven. And sometimes, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything wrong. That doesn't mean that you're not holding yourself hostage and that you haven't forgiven yourself for whatever the circumstance is. So those are a few things that you can do. You can also join my upcoming program, the Sensuality Project Group Immersion. We're going to be starting really soon, and the registration is going to be closing in a couple of days. And I've actually reduced the price. It's $50 a month. And I mentioned this when I went live in my free group, which is a wonderful place to be if you're not a member, and that's called the Sex and Sensibility Society. We have such great juicy conversations there, and the women in the group are amazing. We have such sisterhood and camaraderie, and the conversations are completely unbiased, and there's no judgment. It's just, it's beautiful. So, but I had done a live in the group earlier today, and I was saying that, the cost is $50, and a lot of people might be hesitant to make the commitment, but you're worth $50 a month, and you're also worth the commitment. You're worth the commitment to make to yourself to to help become a better, more comfortable version of yourself. This program is a whole life program. It's really going to be about like unearthing some of those core wounds and healing that stuff and getting in connection with your body and learning more about the brilliance of it. We're going to work through things like heavy periods and fibroids and cysts and different kinds of experiences we have in the womb space. We're also going to talk about being able to be expressive. We're going to talk about consent and having difficult conversations. You know, like a lot of women are in relationships where they have a hard time expressing their wants and desires to their partners. So we're gonna be talking about that. It's really going to be so expansive. And since this is the beta round, it's discounted, and so it's only $50 a month. And I would love to have you on this journey with me because it's going to be really expansive. So if you are a woman who believes she might be disembodied, if you are a woman who has trouble connecting with her body, with her sensual self, who has trouble being present in the moment, who feels distracted, or who suffers with low self-esteem, or if you feel like you can't get clear about what you want to do or what direction to go, if you don't feel like you can trust yourself. That's a big thing, right? It's a big deal. If any of those circumstances fit you, then this program would be amazing for your life. And I would love to witness your becoming. So you can check that out at staceyherrera.com/immersion. There are several links on my business page. So if you scroll through the feed, you'll be able to definitely find the link directly. And I'd love to have you. So this is my sermon for today. It's a bit late, but there's no time like the present, right? And I'll be back on Friday with another juicy tidbit for you. Please share this with your friends. Share this with any woman you know, because there's nothing like growing together. So I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. Bye.